Give that a couple more seconds if you haven't done that.
Okay. Well, guess what, babe? It is the top of the hour. I just clicked the record button. We're going to get this party started. I want to welcome everybody here tonight. My name is Patty Cepeda. You were just listening to Herb Cepeda. We love to see that everybody's joining us from all over the United States, Canada, and Australia, and all over the world. We just love the community that we're with. We love the concept of these righteously inclined projects that we're bringing to the world that is a self-sustaining system. And if you're here for the first time, I want to welcome you. We are so excited to have you here tonight. We just left a major and huge and probably one of the best events I think I've ever been at down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we had some of the most influential people on the planet in the room. And we're so fired up because right now we're set to go from small to big very quickly, gaining traction very quickly right now with welcome to Rally. This is what we're on, is a rally. We call this our Zoom killer. How many people in here value their privacy by a show of hands? I don't see a lot of people's screen on, but I see a couple hands up. Thank you for participating. I appreciate that. You guys can turn on your cameras if you'd like. This platform is amazing, and we do believe it's going to kill Zoom. It's less expensive. It's better. It has more bells and whistles. And I mean, how many, let me finish that sentence that I started to say before. How many people value their privacy by a show of hands? Now that there's some more cameras on. And how many people believe that we really don't have much privacy anymore? Right? I mean, we really don't have much privacy. I got two hands up for that because they're watching everything that we're doing. Zoom itself is a platform that got in trouble not too long ago. It was called Zoom bombing because they were selling our information and releasing all of our information and watching. And they're probably, you know, that's what they do is they watch, they listen to us. Zuckerberg and the rest that listen to us on a regular basis to sell our information to people. We have a very special guest that'll get into more detail on that. But this is exciting. I mean, right now, like I was saying before, down in Fort Lauderdale, we had some of the top influencers in the world that literally, I heard that the reach is about 2.5 billion people, that we literally could become an overnight household name. Rally. We're on a rally. Instead of a Zoom, let's do a rally. Why? Because all of this information is private. It's on the blockchain. We're going to talk about that. It's not sold to people. Matter of fact, you could monetize it yourself at one point in the future. So it's very exciting what we have here. We're also looking at a TikTok killer because we all know who owns TikTok, right? Who's on TikTok? Anybody? A lot of people don't want to be on TikTok because they know that it is out of China. But yet there's not a replacement. But imagine if there was a replacement. So we're working on a few very exciting projects amongst others that are in our community that are very, very exciting for us. But we're going to try to stay focused tonight just on this. I'm going to turn it over to Herb. We have a very special guest on tonight. So Herb, are you on? Can I see you?
Yeah, Patty, let me know if my reception goes out because I'm in.
Yeah, I got you. You're fine right now. Can I hear you? Maybe not.
Our own place. So can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
You know what? You just went out a little bit. So I'm going to monitor that. And if I jump in, it's because I don't hear you.
Yeah. No worries. No offense taken. But about 16 months ago, Patty and I had the opportunity, I'm going to call it an opportunity, to receive an invite to Puerto Rico. As we were getting off of a cruise ship. I mean, the invite came from a gentleman by the name of what we were doing.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, hon. You may have to come out of that location and relocate.
Let me just try moving. Hold on a second. Let me just try moving a second. Maybe that's a little bit better. How does that work?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Well, we'll try. Okay. So anyway, 16 months ago, don't mind the bike in the background. We were just on a bike ride. We get the invitation from Darren.
So how about I tell our story? You're going in and out. You got to change locations, hon. So what happened was we were introduced to this through Darren Kidd, a very special friend of mine and Herb's. And I had stayed in touch with him through the years. He had given me a phone call to tell me that they were working on some things. I said, what are you doing these? He said, I'm not taking on any coaching clients. I'm not doing any more network marketing. And I'll be making about $50 million in the next 12 to 18 months. And how many people would have been skeptical, right? I'm a very open-minded person. I also know who I was talking to and was open to the invitation to come. He was going to fly us down to Puerto Rico. He and Tony, who you're going to hear from today, and down to Puerto Rico to be put up at the Ritz, first class of the whole nine, and be able to meet with people that were extremely well connected and have reached billionaire status. And of course, my initial response to that was absolutely, I'm all in, let's go. And I hung up the phone and I told Herbie, when we get off this cruise ship, because we were coming in South Florida on a cruise ship, tomorrow we'll go to the airport, we'll go over to Puerto Rico. And I tried to regurgitate some of the things Darren had said to me on that call. And of course, I had a hard time doing that. And he said, no, we're not going to Puerto Rico. I said, yeah, we are. He said, I'm not going. You can go. I said, well, I'm going. And anyway, so I texted Darren. He sent over a voice text with some of the accolades. And I said to her at the same point in time, this is, what do we have to lose? We've made tens of millions of dollars. We've done very well in business, praise God. But this is something that gives us an opportunity to really be around people that have made billions of dollars, a big difference. And not only that, it's not going to cost us anything. If worst case scenario, we get a great vacation. So he ended up, after he vetted everybody, the state trooper, he was formerly a New York State trooper, came out in him, he vets everybody. We go down there and sure enough, it was a fire hose of information. So if you're here for the first time, just prepare yourself that there could be some new verbiage, new terminology, a new concept to grasp. Just be prepared for that. And we were there for 3 days, I believe 3 or 4 days, just taking it all in. And by the time we left, we were pretty fired up. And
So Patty, can you hear me now, Patty?
yeah, that's better. Yes.
Good. I did move my location.
Perfect.
So I just want to get a point across to everybody. You know, sometimes in life, things happen that you can't explain. They just happen. And I think about some of the major things that have happened in my lifetime and in your lifetime, things that we can reflect back on and say, man, some of those people were there at the right place at the right time. You look at the emergence of PayPal, of Amazon, of Google, of Apple, of Facebook, of Microsoft, of Instagram. I mean, the list goes on. And there were people there at the beginning stages of those projects that did very well because they were there. They had the opportunity to be there. Mm-hmm. Those companies, traditional centralized companies, all had someone who had a vision of something happening. Well, it's our pleasure tonight to introduce you to Tony Swantag, because Tony has a vision of something that's going on right now, quite frankly, that could dwarf the companies I just told you about. And so when he's talking, I mean, he's a regular person, nice guy, good looking, look at him smiling, good looking guy. But he brings to the table experiential knowledge that most of us, quite frankly, on this video conference, we just don't have. And so when you're in the presence of somebody who's a visionary, who has aspirations on doing something that's bigger than what most of us can comprehend, it probably would be beneficial to pay attention and listen. So with that, Tony, it's a pleasure to have you here this evening.
Good to be here, Herb. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep,
yes,
absolutely fine.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I want to welcome everybody and definitely say that I appreciate you guys sharing your time with us to learn a little bit more about what we're working on and how you might be able to help us grow our community and how you can benefit, potentially financially from helping us grow our community. What I'll do, if you guys think it's all right, just run through a quick demo of this platform and show everybody a little bit about, I think, the differences between ourselves and Zoom. And if you're newer into what I have kind of jumped into over the last year and a half, the blockchain technology side of the world, I'll give you a little bit of kind of my experience coming into that space. And honestly, I'm a low tech entrepreneur. I'm somebody that's not really big on learning new things. I guess maybe that's most humans, and kind of, I know what I do and what I'm good at and what my strengths are, and I kind of stay in my lane most of the time. And I understood cryptocurrency pretty early. I was fortunate. I read the Bitcoin white paper in 2010. I got some email from CNET, a tech blog, and I just liked the concept, but I was too low tech to do anything about it. I just thought it was a cool concept, limited supply of tokens, proof of work made some sense. All I knew was I remembered when gas was 50 cents a gallon, actually a little lower than that. And it ain't anymore. I know the dollar is not what it used to be. And so it's because they print trillions of them every few years. And I felt like limited supply was a cool concept. It was 2013 when some of our companies started buying Bitcoin for the first time. So it was still pretty early, a couple $100, $250 a coin, maybe something like that. And I've never stopped buying. My last big buy was at like 69,000 a coin. And then I bought just a few weeks ago, I bought like 10 grand worth. My friends know if they want to sell Bitcoin that I'll buy it from them. But I've never bought Bitcoin to use it. I've always bought it because I felt like it was undervalued and it was going to go up. Now I could be wrong. It's speculative, and I could be right. I think at the end of the day, but I would say most people that bought Bitcoin or do buy Bitcoin buy it for the exact same reason that I do, is they think it's going to go up in price, and it's purely speculative. The difference between the projects that we work on is we actually have real companies that generate real revenue. And when I first saw this concept, my friend reached out to me. This was 2018, early 2018. I had a friend that had started a cryptocurrency trading software platform back in 2017 that I helped him grow. And it did very well. And he called me in 2018 and said, he's like, Tony, you got to buy these nodes for this project called Gala Games. And I said, what the heck is a node? I was like, again, I'm low tech, and he's like, Bitcoin mining, and I was like, not really. I mean, I've heard the words Bitcoin miners or whatever, but I have no clue what that even means, He goes, this is software nodes. He goes, basically, Tony, he goes, you buy this software, you put it on your computer, and this company will pay you to borrow your computer power. Well, I understood that. I said, well, how much do they pay you? And he said, well, they give you these Gala tokens. And so I said, well, how much is a Gala token worth? And he said, well, right now, this is 2018. He goes, right now, nothing. And I just said, this sounds amazing. You're gonna borrow my computer power and you're gonna give me magic internet money that's not worth anything. I said, it sounds amazing for them, not so great for me. He goes, well, Tony, it's not worth anything now, but if people start playing these games, it could be worth quite a bit. And so long story longer, I bought $10,000 worth of nodes. And for the next 2 years, nothing happened. They were still building their games. They probably shouldn't have sold the nodes that soon. But everybody was complaining, like everybody, even my friend was complaining. And he ended up refunding everybody that bought nodes. He didn't want people thinking he was taking advantage of them, whatever. So he just gave everybody their money back. And I actually told him, I was like, I don't need a refund. Like, I'll just keep the 10 grand in there and let's see what happens. And he says, it's easier to just push a full refund to everybody. He goes, if you really want to purchase them, call me in a couple of weeks and we'll just redo the transaction. I said, okay. About that time, I had a restaurant delivery service, kind of like an Uber Eats or a DoorDash or Just Eat, if you're, in other countries and stuff that's around some other countries. And we were exiting. We had sold a third of that company to a company called Eat Street out of Madison, Wisconsin. And we were merging the other 2/3 of the company with a company called Delivery.com. We were in negotiations with DoorDash, Uber Eats, Amazon. Delivery.com is owned by Cantor Fitzgerald. It's one of the biggest investment banks in the world. They're on Wall Street in New York. And they made us an offer that was just amazing. And so I'm laser focused trying to get this deal to the finish line. And I wasn't playing games online or anything. So I just completely forgot to call my buddy back and didn't think much of it. About a year after that, a year goes by, and I see my buddy posting on social media, like hashtag Gala Games, hashtag crypto. And so it hit me that I forgot to call him. So I called him back and I'm like, hey, I was like, bro, what's up with this Gala Games thing? I see you posting about it. He goes, Tony, he goes, there's millions of people playing these games. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I started selling off some of my tokens over the last few months. And I just said, well, how much have you sold off? And he says, a little over $40 million worth. And I was like, no way. I was like, no way. And he shows me his trading. And I was like, he sold over $40 million worth. Well, it was funny. I remember I had him go back early. I was like, whoa, what was that trade? He had sold 180 million tokens at under a penny. And when we were talking, the price was around 57 cents. And I was like, dude, you could have made 100 million if you'd have just waited to sell a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I didn't feel that bad for him because he'd already sold like $40 million worth. But I asked him about another friend of ours, Wright. And I said, how did he do? He said, he's got like 4.3 billion. And then I asked the question you probably shouldn't ask. I said, if I would have called you back, how many tokens would I have right now? And he starts doing the math. He goes, it was 2020, about a year ago. He goes, till now, which was like late 21. He goes, if you sold all your tokens today, it would be like a little over $11 million worth. What's even crazier for me, probably worse for me, if I would have called him back when I was supposed to, this was over 5 years ago. As we're talking today, the nodes I would own and still have would generate $40,000 to $50,000 a month, just running them. Just it'd be like oil wells, and it's just crazy. And I watched this happen, and chalk it up as a missed opportunity. It wasn't the first. It certainly won't be the last. I'm sure there'll be other swings and misses and times where I don't realize I'm at the right place at the right time. But about a year and a half goes by into October of 2023, almost 2 years. And I had built some pretty big businesses. I had my accounting firm had just done over $10 billion in tax credit filings in our first 2 years in business, with over $2 billion in profit. And I was very busy. Thousands of employees, contractors. We had offices. I guess we do have offices, Kansas, New York, Mississippi, Ohio. It's a huge business. Over 40,000 clients, almost pretty much exclusive business clients. And my buddy that had made over $4 billion from the Gala project, they reached out to me and they wanted to share with me what they were working on in the blockchain space. Now, as busy as I was, the fact that I had watched them build a project that was the #1 performing cryptocurrency in the world in 2021, it had a market cap that peaked at like $45 billion. There were days where its market cap was higher than Tesla's. Now, it probably shouldn't have been that high, but if you owned that token and it was that valuable, you wouldn't care why it was that high. You would just care that the market cap was that high because people were giving you money for those tokens. And so when they called me, I was like, where do I need to be? Like as busy as I was like, I'll give you a full day. Like, where do I need to be? When do I need to be there? And I met with them in Vegas. They showed me several blockchain projects they were working on. Probably the most impressive thing to me was the people that were working on these projects. I remember they had a banking blockchain, that we do have a banking blockchain. And the CEO came in to meet with us, and I knew who she was. I own a credit card processing company that's pretty good size, and she didn't know me, but I knew her. Her name's Kathy Roberts. She was one of the original founders of Discover Card. And so she was also the first president of Discover Bank. She was like the head of the Delaware Banking Commission for a year, like one of the more respected bankers. I'll just say this: if you get cash back for using a credit card, you can thank Kathy Roberts and her executive team for that. The only reason anyone in the world gets cash back is really because of her and her team and what they created. And so I'm sitting here in 2023. The regulatory environment towards blockchain and crypto is not good. The SEC in the United States is suing everybody. They're suing Coinbase. They're suing Ripple. They're suing the Ethereum Foundation. Like everybody and anybody, they're going, and they're losing all these cases, which is kind of funny. But they were still suing everybody. And so I just said, "What are you doing here, Mrs. Roberts? Like, how did they get you into blockchain? Because blockchain and banking, they go together like oil and water. They don't mix, And she says, Tony, I believe that blockchain technology will make everyone on planet Earth bankable within the next 5 to 10 years. And I remember when she said that, the respect level I had for her, I just felt like I better dig into this. Like, what's going on in blockchain? What is this Web3 shift that she's talking about? And as I researched, I saw the World Economic Forum had put out an article in 2021 that basically said blockchain would disrupt up to $867 trillion in traditional markets. My degree's in finance and economics. And so I'm looking at these numbers going, this is not a once in a lifetime deal here. This is a once deal. Like in history, there's never been that kind of a shift, and probably in future. I think that the only time we'll see a shift in wealth like that, and that was 2021. I've heard as recently as probably 6 months ago, 1.3 quadrillion is the estimated shift now. It will take cross-planetary economics, basically. Like if the world economy starts to shift into Mars or something like that, and we've colonized another planet, you might see a bigger shift. But I don't think the grandkids, great-grandkids, double greats, triple greats are probably going to be a part of that kind of opportunity. And so I just felt like, as an entrepreneur, how do we position ourselves to take advantage of that kind of shift? If people much smarter than me, one of the more influential bankers in the world, people like Elon Musk talk about it, Bill Gates, like all these people talk about this Web3 shift, this blockchain shift, that are much more successful than me, much smarter. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, if we had a time machine and went back into the mid 90s, I don't know where you guys are at. I saw there's some Australians on. I know that. I see Lisa on. I know I've got some Floridians on, a few North Carolina on. I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm heading back to Kansas on Sunday, so I'll be in Kansas for a few weeks. But as entrepreneurs, if we had that time machine, and tonight we were in the mid 90s, early 90s, no matter where any of us are at, I would say we got to get to Silicon Valley. Like, let's get where I'll get a flight. You guys need to get flights. Let's get up to Silicon Valley. Let's go find Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. They're working on PayPal right now. Let's go to Stanford University and find Sergey Brin. He's working on Google right now. Let's see where Jeff Bezos is at. He's raising funds for Amazon. And let's pool all the money we've got and give it to these people and help them invest in their companies. Because now we know, like, they're literally going to shape the way people communicate, the way people operate online for the next several decades. And the Web3 shift, in essence, is growing faster than the internet did in the mid 90s. Blockchain tech is growing faster and getting bigger than the internet did in the early and mid 90s. And so the best way to position ourselves, I felt, was to work in projects that generated real world revenue, that generated real world utility, meaning people could use cryptocurrency, they could use tokens for real products and services. And if we could position ourselves in that line, and probably more importantly, figure out ways to make the blockchain invisible. And what I mean by that is, I kind of look at this, and I say this lovingly, but the nerds of the world, they kind of got the internet, what I would call kind of early Web 1.0, where it was just the military was using the internet, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, Steve Jobs was probably using the internet in the late 80s, early 90s. The internet protocol was that code was developed in like 1981. TCP, IP, those protocols were quite old. And it wasn't until like the mid 90s where you got Hotmail was kind of one of the first real use cases. And then all of a sudden, you get Amazon and PayPal being able to pay for things and Google being able to get information and search. All these companies were early, what I would call Web 2 adopters. And it was entrepreneurs that started to make the internet invisible, the code. My mom, for example, doesn't know what HTML is. She doesn't know what an SSL certificate is, but she can watch her shows on Netflix. She can pay her credit card bill, check her bank statement, because the internet makes her life easier, more efficient, easier to communicate with her kids, grandkids, great grandkids. And so I look at this shift into Web 3 and figure, okay, how do we position ourselves and how do we make it easy for people to come into a blockchain technology without really needing to know they're coming in? This project that we're on right now is a blockchain-based video conferencing platform. And there's really 4 areas that we're going on offense and attacking Zoom. And for me as an entrepreneur, it's really the first time I've ever attempted to pick a fight with a large cap publicly traded company. Zoom's got I think its peak market cap this year was $27 billion. Normally, I try and sell out to companies like that. I'm not trying to compete with companies like that. But not only is it the first time that through our community, we're looking to compete with a large cap publicly traded company, but if you look at a side-by-side comparison on paper, we are heavy favorites to not only compete, but to disrupt them. Similar to the way Blockbuster Video was disrupted by Netflix, completely shut them down. The same way Amazon is disrupting the retail space. And so when I looked at this platform and this project, I saw 4 areas that we could really attack a company like Zoom with 300 million daily users. Zoom has a massive target. They're over 50% of the video conferencing market share globally. The first area is price point. At the enterprise level, I was using an enterprise level Zoom, 3 rooms, up to 1,000 people per meeting. And by switching over to our link, 5 rooms, up to 3,000 people per meeting, I cut my cost by over $3,400 a year. Now, my mom at the lowest level can save like $4 a month or something like that. So it's like, and we're in beta, but we will launch a full free version down the road as well to compete with Zoom's free version. But I'm looking at it going, price point's much better. What's also better is presentation side. If somebody says, well, I want to see more about the price points, like, can you show me like how the pricing set up and how that works? I can actually pull up, this is called a web popper. This is a live web page. Each one of you that's on your own phone or your own laptop, you guys are in control of your screen. You can scroll at your own pace, each person. If you watch the recording, if you're not here live with us and you're watching the recording of this, you can scroll at your own pace and click on buttons and do whatever you want during the video. Like as you're watching the video, this is a live site. You can scroll through, you can control your screen. And so if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see our comparison where for $50 a month, I get 3 times the max attendees, 20 times the storage capacity. Instead of 3 rooms, I got 5 rooms, meaning me and 4 of my executives can use one account at $50 a month. Way more bells and whistles. So price point, we are way stronger than Zoom. When it comes to presenting, certainly I can share screen and go to a PowerPoint, or I can preload slides and just start going through a slideshow that I've built in. And if somebody says, well, we've got a video that's a part of our slideshow, I go, great, we can go right into video.
Do you ever wish you'd
Normally
played a part in
with
the tech
Zoom, I would have to
revolution
change my audio
before
setting from
it got
microphone
really
to computer.
big? like
Here, I
Facebook
can just
when it
talk
was a
over the
Harvard
video.
student directory.
I turn the volume
Amazon
down,
and
but
Jeff
if it's
Bezos
bothering people, I can just mute the video. Let it play. I can still talk over it. Normally, I would share screen, change audio settings, wait 5 seconds for a YouTube video to skip the ad, and then I'd start playing the video. Here, I can fast forward, rewind. I can pause if there's a key part. And then if I'm done with the video, I can just hide it and I'm done with the video. And if somebody says, well, this is awesome, like, how do I buy that $50 a month package? I can pull up call to action buttons and people can buy. And again, if you're watching the recording, those buttons are hot, and it can be any industry, any company. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we know through split test that if you can sell and convert inside a platform, it's over 80% more effective than if you go, hey, I'm going to type a link in the chat, click on it, let me know if the website opens up. Can you see it? Click here. Like, that doesn't convert near as well as putting it right inside the platform. And so when it comes to price point, we're so much better. $3,400 a year better for just enterprise level for me. When it comes to presentation and, more importantly, conversion, we're so far superior, so far ahead of them. But then the blockchain gives us a technological advantage that Zoom will never be able to compete with. They might be able to lower their prices someday. Maybe they can add in different, bells and whistles. If you build an international team, I'm going to share screen real quick. This is kind of cool. Let me just share my entire screen, and I don't want to take too much time here. But if you go to, let's see, where's my meeting here? If you go to, let me share one more time. If you go to view on your phone, it's at the bottom right. There's a button that says view. A little menu pops up. On the computer, it's right up at the top middle where I'm at. If you click view, and then on the phone, it's at the bottom right, click view. On the menu, click view caption/translation. And if you do that, you'll start to see English popping up at the bottom of your screen. If you're looking at the presentation mode, you can see it at the bottom of my screen. If you want to see presentation mode, if you click view again and you click active speaker, you'll see a big screen, but I would click presentation mode. Click presentation mode and you'll see my screen bigger, and you'll see English down here at the bottom. And if you go to this little settings wheel, you can choose your caption language. And if I chose, Chinese, let's go traditional, because that's my favorite. All of a sudden, everything in English is now in Chinese. Now, I live in Puerto Rico, so let's say I'm going to choose caption language, and I'm going to make mine in Spanish, United States. All of a sudden, instead of Chinese, now everything's in Spanish. You can pick your language. If you speak a different language, I just did a meeting the other day. I had a guy in Brazil speaking Portuguese. I had a guy in El Salvador speaking Spanish, a guy in Ecuador speaking Spanish. I was speaking English. And then I had a guy with me who was translating for like a minute. And I was like, dude, you don't need to translate. Tell the guy in Brazil to change his spoken language to Portuguese and his caption language to Portuguese. Tell the guys in El Salvador and Ecuador, change their spoken language to Spanish and their caption language to Spanish. And I'll just keep mine in English. And we had a perfect, flawless meeting for 45 minutes. Got a deal done and never used a translator. We just read what each other were saying. Now, our AI, we're working on developing voice to where, imagine you chose Chinese and you're hearing my voice speak perfect Chinese and my lips matching up. And Patty chooses Czech and she's hearing my voice in Czech and my lips matching up with what she's hearing. Herb chooses Spanish and he's hearing Spanish and my lips are like, we'll be able to build a global business without ever needing any translation whatsoever. So we're far superior, and I'll stop sharing, to anything Zoom is offering. But with blockchain technology, our community owns the platform. I have no ownership. There's no huge corporation that owns this. And the community voted and said, every paid user owns and controls their own data. See, Zoom's never going to allow that. Just like Patty was talking about, it was March of 2023 through August of 2023, Zoom was sharing everyone's data with their AI. And people got upset, but there was no safe place to go. Like Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, those guys are better at mining data than Zoom is. And so I think humans as society, we've conceded to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has been listening to me this whole time. Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin over at Google. And I don't necessarily mind targeted advertising. Like I'd rather see ads for watches and pickleball paddles than dresses and high heels. But I do have a little bit of an issue with Mark Zuckerberg and Bezos and Google making an extra $40 billion a year off all of our data, all of our content, all of our networks. And I felt like if we gave an option to the over 5.5 billion people that are online globally, and we said, listen, you can continue to just have your data stolen and people making billions of dollars off of it, or you can control your data. And if you choose to, you can monetize your data and make money if you want to share it. I felt like all 5.5 billion people would choose to own and control their data and monetize it if they knew they had the option. That's what this platform gives them. We control our data and we can monetize our data. We're still in beta now, but as we come out of beta and we grow, we'll have options to make money by sharing your data. Or you could keep your data fully encrypted inside your wallet. You're the only one with the private key and you never use it. You never open the wallet up and your data never sees the light of day. That's a choice. You could do that. Or you could say, you know what? My data's kind of already out there. Let me make some money off of it. I think most people will probably want to monetize if they have that option. And then the fourth area we hit them is the reward side. I'm earning cryptocurrency. Patty and Herb earn cryptocurrency when we do our meetings. And so I was already doing meetings. I was doing a lot of meetings for my different businesses and I was getting nothing. So if now all of a sudden you say I can get rewarded for doing something that I'm doing anyways, well, I will choose to get rewarded versus choose to not get rewarded. And so that's 4 massive areas that not only are we attacking Zoom, but we're way, way ahead of them. Better pricing, better presentation and conversion, own your data, get rewarded for using the platform, sharing it with others. Now, there's 2 main ways people can help us grow our community and 2 ways where people might be able to benefit from joining our community. The first is to operate nodes, which is what I should have called my buddy back and done with the Gala Games project. And you can do that. A rally node, rally is what we call our communications blockchain. These meetings, we call them rallies. This platform lives on the Rally blockchain. There'll be other companies that live on the blockchain as well. I actually bought the code for a project that's called Pixa. If this right here is the Zoom killer, I would say Pixa is like the TikTok killer. So instead of our data going to China, like Patty was talking about, I think everybody knows that's where your data goes if you use TikTok. What if you could own and control all your data? And we create a social selling app. So what if this is a lady that sells cupcake recipes or something, and you could click on the shopping cart and pick out the cupcake recipe or buy the cupcakes and have them shipped to you. And then you could use your crypto wallet. It's built in here and you could pay. Or you could use your credit card and it would go into the market and buy the tokens. Because that's one of the things the community did. 100%, the community voted and said 100% of the revenue that comes in goes in to buy the token right out of the open market. It creates buy-side pressure. I say, imagine if every time you checked out on Amazon, if Jeff Bezos made us go buy Amazon stock and then use the stock to check out, the stock price would go up. Whatever, it's a couple $100 a share, it would go up because just supply and demand. More people that have to buy it and want to buy it, the price goes up. Now, they cannot do that in a Web 2 environment. We can do it in a Web 3 environment. That's exactly what we do. And it'll be the first blockchain-based project in the world, really, that has consistent daily revenue going in to create buy-side pressure on the token. Now, I don't know if we'll do what Gala Games did. You know, they $45 billion market cap, still probably close to $1 billion or $2 billion market cap some days now, you know, after crypto winter. They still are a top 100 coin. I'm not saying we're going to beat them or do what they did, but I can tell you this. Over the first real 8 months in beta, we've done over 5 times, and it's closing in on 10 times the revenue that Gala Games did their first 3 years combined. And so our trajectory is very, very strong. What's even crazier, we have more revenue right now than Gala Games has right now. And so I'm looking at this going, I can add users to this platform. I don't know much about, you know, tweeting and making a cryptocurrency go up. I'm not Elon Musk, who can tweet once about Dogecoin and the price skyrockets. I'm not that important. But I know I can add 1 million users onto a platform like this. I know Herb and Patty could probably add 3 million users onto a platform like this. People like Lisa. I mean, there's so many amazing people. Bill Hoffman. I mean, there's people here in this meeting that on their own, through their networks, could add 1 million users onto a platform like this. The question is, who's going to do it? And what's cool is you can get rewarded for it. So you can operate nodes, which is what I should have done with Gala. But you can operate nodes, and the nodes will generate tokens as long as you keep them turned on, as long as they're helping to run our blockchain, which we need node owners to run the blockchain network, and you get rewarded for doing it. I kind of say buying cryptocurrencies like buying eggs. If you eat eggs for breakfast and run out, you got to go to the grocery store and buy more eggs. A node is like having a chicken coop in your backyard. You never need to go buy eggs. You just go to the backyard and the chickens are laying eggs, and you grab the eggs, and that morning you have eggs. Then you go back in the next morning, go to the coop, and you grab more eggs, you know? And so the nodes generate about 3,000 tokens per day. There's an NFT that I think the nodes are like 6,200 each, or maybe 6,100 each, something like that. So they're not cheap. You can add a boost, and it's called an NFT boost, but it will double your node output for like 6 months. So you can get about 6,000 tokens a day for the next 6 months. And then you can continue to boost and probably get 3,000 a day for the next 6 months after that. We have an annual halving that's getting ready to happen in September. And so not to get too into the blockchain side, but the nodes generate tokens. Those tokens could be worthless. Currently, people can sell them, and people do sell them. I saw somebody sold like 60 grand worth the other day. I think today people have sold maybe 20, 30 grand worth. So not a lot of sellers. Actually, a lot of people are hodling. They're holding on to these tokens, but there's a lot of buyers. I can tell you that there's people that are trying to consistently buy this token out of the market. There's just not a lot of people that want to sell it at the current pricing. But sooner or later, there'll be some price discovery, and people will want to sell, and that's fine. You know, the market makes itself kind of. We don't control the market. We're just community members, and our goal is really to just help build the platform. And that's the other way you can help. So you can run nodes that generate tokens, or you can help us build the community. And how you do that? Pretty simple. If you're using Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, stop. Start using this. Save some money, earn some rewards, and use our platform instead. And your own. It would become your platform. Pretty soon there'll be a vote that the users, you'll pretty much have ownership just for using the $10 a month platform. You can use your credit card. Just swipe the card. Whoever invited you on to the meeting can get you a link where you can literally just put your card information in and pay $10 a month, cancel at any time. But literally you can start getting rewarded for doing meetings, which is probably better than not getting rewarded for doing meetings. And if you're using a paid version, enterprise level, Zoom, Teams, anything like that, I can tell you, you're probably going to save quite a bit of money. And the other thing you can do is bring in other users, bring in other community members, bring in people that maybe want to operate nodes. You can get rewarded in a big, big way for doing that. I have 2 gentlemen that have basically in the last 4 weeks, I think they've earned for community build over 150 million rally tokens in 4 weeks, which is ridiculous. I think that's almost $500,000 worth right now, which is crazy. They couldn't sell all that today, but they probably sell it over the next few weeks and put $500,000 in their pocket, which is kind of crazy. It's exciting to see, even in beta, the excitement around a real product, a real service that has blockchain technology. And that's really, I think, the key. When grandma swipes her card, puts her card information in, the community voted 100% of the revenue goes in to buy the token. She doesn't need to know that. Grandma doesn't need to understand blockchain, what a MetaMask wallet is, what Uniswap version 4 Coinbase is. She just swipes the card. She just puts the card info in. It charges $10, and then it goes through Uniswap right into the market using our banking blockchain. This is as we come out of beta. This is how the setup is. And it doesn't care what the price of the token is. It doesn't care. And so if I look at, I don't know what the price is today. Let me go look. I'll tell you guys. So right now, and it changes quite a bit, it's 0.0029 cents. It's less than a penny. It's almost a third of a penny. And so if she bought, let's say $10 worth of that token, and she says, I'm gonna buy the $10 platform, that's whatever, 3,400 tokens, 3,442 tokens, something like that. And then that would go right to the community. So she uses her card in the small print, it's saying, hey, you're buying a digital token that's going to give you your platform. She's not going to care. She knows it's costing her $10 and she gets her platform. It does it seamlessly. It's like when I was in Japan over Christmas, I went skiing up in Japan in Niseko, kind of the Northern Islands. And I was in Tokyo as well. And I almost everywhere we went used my Amex. I didn't care what the dollar to yen ratio was because Amex handled that for me. I just knew I was going to eat some sushi and here's the Amex. And Amex will figure out how many dollars it cost me and the yen, and they got yen, and then I got a bill and I paid it in dollars, So that's kind of how our banking blockchain works. So grandma, her card runs for $10. It buys 3,400 tokens that moment. And our community gets those tokens and says, hey, grandma, thanks for 3,442 tokens. Here's your meeting platform. She got it. There you go. Next month, it automatically charges her card. She can cancel anytime. There's no contract. But let's say she likes the service. It runs her card for $10. Now, let's say we have millions of users all of a sudden. We have a bunch of people that love the project. And now each token's worth $1. Her card gets swiped, and it goes into the market and buys 10 tokens, not 3,442. It only buys 10 tokens. And the 10 tokens go to the community, and the community says, hey, grandma, thanks for the 10 tokens. Just so happens that's how much it costs to get your platform set up. Here you go, 10 tokens worth. That's never happened in blockchain or crypto history. Meaning, anytime I've ever purchased any cryptocurrency, or my companies have, I always look at the price. Like, it's important. I want to know, I don't put a market order in. If somebody said, well, we want to sell Bitcoin for $1 million a coin, and you had a market order in, and that was the only liquidity in the market at that moment, it's possible you could literally buy Bitcoin at $1 million a coin. It would be a huge mistake. So you put what's called a limit order in, and you say, hey, if I'm buying Bitcoin today, I don't want to pay more than 103,000 or whatever it is. You set your limit. Our revenue, the revenue from the company, could care less what the price is. It just knows it needs to go in the market, buy those tokens, so grandma can get her platform to talk to her grandkids. That's what it knows. And so we have this consistent buy-side pressure coming in on a daily basis. And if you help us build the community, you can actually share in the daily revenue distribution. We own this. The community owns this together. And so I would tell people, if you can get nodes, get some. Now, it's high risk with potential for no reward. It truly is. The tokens, they are worth something now. So you can sell them now, but the tokens could go to zero for all I know. They could go up to 85 cents like Gala Games did. They could go higher than that. I don't control the market. None of us control the market. But one thing I knew I could control was how many people I introduced to this platform and how many users I felt like I could bring on. I could bet on myself. I knew Herb and Patty could bet on themselves. I knew somebody like Lisa and Bill could bet on themselves. And what's cool is all of us coming together, the more entrepreneurs that come into the platform, it's almost like a hive AI mind, where I think the best thing about this project, if I lay an egg and I just can't get it going, and Herb and Patty say, hey, you know, we're going to just go on cruises for the rest of the year because they love cruises, and they made plenty of money and they're going to take cruises. But Bill Hoffman and his wife Julie go, you know what? We're going to go build our link, and they crush it. If me, Herb, and Patty are just chilling on the cruises together, and we have a bunch of nodes and have a bunch of tokens, we're going to owe Bill some dinner when we see him and Julie the next time, because we'll be really happy. Because it doesn't matter whether it's us that helps the project, but I know this. I know people like Herb and Patty. I know they're running just as fast as I am. And I know a bunch of us are probably going to help this project along. People like Lisa are going to get it throughout Australia, throughout Southeast Asia. Like, there's so many opportunities for us to really disrupt the video conferencing space. There's going to be massive opportunity to disrupt TikTok. And all that revenue runs through the same Rally blockchain. So my recommendation, if you can afford to get some nodes, again, that's kind of your high risk part of portfolio. You'd have some extra capital to work with. In the United States, it's actually, the software is classified. The node software is classified as off the shelf software in the tax code, the IRS tax code. So I'd say get with your CPAs, get with your tax attorneys. You can take what's called a Section 179 and bonus depreciation on off-the-shelf software. So it could be a pretty big write-off. It was for me in 2023. I didn't live in Puerto Rico. There's some tax advantages I have now that I did not have in 2023. I actually purchased $53 million worth of node software. And I don't recommend anybody do that. There was a lot of reasons I did that. One of the reasons I was looking to offset buy depreciating assets. Every year we would buy depreciating assets and kind of offset income. Just working with our tax attorneys, working with our CPAs, we would do that for every fourth quarter for a decade, And so I was looking to buy depreciating assets. Certainly there were much lower risk options, buying another jet, buying buildings. There's things that kind of guarantee you're going to have pretty good value over the next several years. The nodes I knew could be worth nothing. But I felt like if I could move the needle, which I knew I could, I was kind of stacking the deck in my favor. And I knew the upside was far superior to anything I could do in any other depreciating asset class that I knew existed. And so I would tell you, if you can't afford it, grab some nodes. But more importantly, if you can help us build the community, that's really what we're looking for. And if you can help us as a part of the community, if you can help us with, translation into your native language, if you can help us with the dev teams and that maybe you're a coder, maybe you're a dev side, like people in the community really just kind of have been helping us grow. We know we're not perfect. We know we need to get better, but we have no ego. There's no owners here. We're all working together to make this project better and better. And you can be a big part of it. So I appreciate each and every one of you sharing your time with me this evening. I'll turn it back over to Herb and Patty, and definitely looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot of you on more and more our links. And if all goes well, I'm sure we'll get a chance to meet in person real soon.
Thank you, Tony. Absolutely awesome overview. I know that there's probably people with a lot more questions. And of course, we always encourage everyone to get back to whomever invited you here tonight to go over the details of how this works. How do you purchase the computer software nodes? How do you, they'll have a link for you to go to. And that will help you to learn more. We have a full academy in there, Learn to Earn. There's just so much that you can look through. But the person who invited you will keep you on point to answer your questions and get everything answered. Herbie, you have anything else?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate one more time what I said in the very beginning. There's people who are at certain places at certain times, and they're the right times. Some people recognize it and take action. Others don't recognize it. Some recognize it and don't take action. So there's a variety of categories you can fall into when you hear this type of information. And so we would encourage you. I mean, we're never going to get this timing back. We're never going to get this timing back. the way I see it is that we can't lose. I mean, we're not a company. We're not certainly a traditional centralized, I don't know a better way to say it, centralized company. We're a decentralized community with a project that we all can relate to. There's no one on this video conference that can't relate to video conferencing because you're on the video conferencing. I mean, we can all relate to it. And so it's like one of the first times in history from my perspective where I've seen this happen. And so we all see the advancement of blockchain technology, the talk of cryptocurrency, and many of us are really not very savvy on it, and it's relatively new to us. But by that same token, back in 1996, no one knew about Amazon. It was new to the people who Jeff Bezos was introducing it to. And they all did very well because they were at the right place, right time. They saw it and they took some action. And Tony, you gave a great example. I mean, some of these people, some of you who are on here, some of you who are on here for the very first time, will see this and take some action and put it on the back burner. And you'll turn around in a year or two and you'll say, oh my, look what happened there. we're going to have those examples. And we can have the complete opposite, but I don't think so. The way this is going right now, I think this is it's one of those things that can make you stop sleeping. And when you can authentically get enthusiastic about something like that, that's when you get a little fire because you're fired up. We don't suggest sitting back. We suggest pouring gasoline on the fire and let it go up like really fast. So that's where we're at, everybody. So again, Tony, we want to thank you. We realize your time is precious. We appreciate you and all you bring to the table and how you've been able to educate us and bring us up to speed with the happenings and the logistics of what's going on as the project starts to progress. You're all going to be excited that you were here, and you're all going to have a story in the future because you were here one way or another. So God bless everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Evening. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Tony. Yep.
You're welcome. Take care, everybody.
God bless everybody.